and 6 goes into 1 20 times.
I once had the Math Start, CUNY Start curriculum described to me as the most radical way of teaching math that someone has ever seen.
It's way different. Way different.
Fraction.
They let the students solve everything for themselves.
Where did the two come from?
It's more in their hands, and they're not just presented with a bunch of rules to memorize or procedures to follow.
If you want rules to help you through every kind of math problem you might see in an elementary algebra class, you might need hundreds of rules. Right? But if you have some real understanding of some fundamental ideas, you can think your way through a wide variety of problems.
That's why we did a fraction. No, it is equal though.
We think students learn most effectively when they're actively exploring math ideas for themselves and reaching their own conclusions about math.
3 copies of 3.
Show me how that looks.
The teacher isn't positioned as a math authority in the classroom. The teacher is there to facilitate questioning, to engage students in building their understanding.
And what do you think the reason is?
One thing that can be hard for students to adjust to is that we believe that it's valuable for them to struggle with the math in our classroom. It's not that we don't want to help them learn. We believe the way they learn best is if they struggle through it for themselves.
So that's the final answer right there. Just like that.
Can we do that?
If you ask the teacher, is this right? She'll respond with another question. And pretty much any question you ask her, she'll respond with another question.
There's a lot of intentional messaging about the class style and structure that's built into the curriculum.
X squared times negative 11y.
But it still comes up against student resistance, for sure, because it's new, it feels so different.
Where did this 10 cents come from?
You walk in and you want your professor to teach you, and instead he just stands there and asks you questions. That's enormously frustrating.
At first, yes, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm one of the guys that like to know the answer, like.
So I just keep increasing by 2 in the output.
And how did you know that that was your y-intercept?
And when I ask her, is that the correct answer? And they answer me, is it?
She actually would have us get up on the board, try to solve it. And if we couldn't solve it completely, we would get help from other participating students, or she would help work us through it.
You know your output is increasing by 2.
This has all been really carefully designed based on the science of how we learn. And the truth is that learning math takes effort. There's no substitute for the experience of struggling through a problem and trying on your own to figure out what to do.
We have to communicate with one another. You can't just sit there and pay attention to a lecture. You have to be able to participate.
You got to find the square root of 100 first.
And if you're not participating, you'll be made to. And that's what I love about it.
We draw on students' prior knowledge, what they already come into our classes knowing.
4 will be X.
We also use a lot of context from the real world, and we ask them to explain it and look into it more deeply.
So tell me again, what is a solution? I want the definition.
If you're in a classroom where you're constantly being asked, what is something, or why does this happen?
Where did the 3 equals 3 come from?
There's no way you can just sit back and let it happen. You have to engage with it and you have to learn it.
How do we know 14 is a solution?
You see students build a comfort level talking about math the way that students in a traditional classroom don't.
0 plus this number will be your y-intercept, and that's when you start seeing. Especially the vocabulary, because when you know the vocabulary, you know what you're talking about. And that's your actual range. So when he says you gotta factor the polynomial or something, you know what a polynomial is, so you know how to factor it, because a polynomial and a binomial is different. So that does help a lot.
So do you guys agree here?
Before, I can only tell, use this formula and this is how you're gonna do it.
I did distributive properties.
But now I understand completely everything they give me in detail. I can explain, I help other students when they ask me, I can tell them step by step why.
And it's cool because there's debate, like, no, you gotta do it this way, you gotta do it this way. I'll even bet with a classmate, like, no, it's this.
Well, you circle the 2 and the 2, because that equals to 1.
It's like a domino effect where everybody starts to get it.
So what do we call X?
I feel like this class, it showed me that there is definitely possibilities for anyone to learn math, especially for somebody like me who always struggled with it.